Did you know that more than 8 out of 10 men can't tell when their partner is being unfaithful? That means millions of men walk around each day with no idea that the woman they trust the most might already be drifting away. The truth is, betrayal rarely announces itself with loud alarms. It hides in whispers, in casual words, in everyday phrases that seem harmless, until it's too late. Welcome back to Stoic Dating Code. Here, we don't settle for surface-level advice. We dig deep into human psychology, relationships, and the hidden patterns that often decide whether a man stands strong or falls blind. If you want clarity in your relationships and strength in your mind, you're in the right place. Now listen carefully. Women are not careless with their secrets. When they step outside of a relationship, they don't usually shout it from the rooftops. They weave their words carefully, disguising truth as comfort, excuses, or even affection. And if you're not paying attention, you'll miss the clues right in front of your eyes. Think about it. How many times has your partner said something that didn't fully add up, but you brushed it aside because you didn't want to seem insecure or paranoid? How many times have you told yourself, "It's nothing, I'm probably overthinking," yet deep inside, something felt off? That's exactly how most men lose sight of what's really happening. Not because they lack intelligence, not because they don't care, but because they never learned how to decode the subtle language women use when guilt, temptation, or deception enters the picture. And here's the thing, when women cheat, it's rarely about one big mistake. It's about a series of small, hidden shifts, emotional distance, strange new routines, and above all, the words they choose to speak to you. Words are never random. They are the mirrors of hidden feelings. And if you know how to listen, you'll start seeing what's truly happening behind the curtain. In today's video, I'm going to reveal 6 common phrases women often use when they're being unfaithful. These aren't dramatic confessions. They're subtle lines, things she might say with a smile, a sigh, or even a laugh. But each one carries a deeper meaning, and if you miss it, you risk living in denial while your relationship crumbles beneath you. Now, before we dive in, let me ask you this. Do you really know your partner as well as you think you do? Do you believe her words are always transparent, or could they sometimes be a mask hiding something else? Stick with me until the end of this video. What I'm about to share could be the key that separates ignorance from clarity, weakness from strength, illusion from truth. And hey, if you find value in uncovering the hidden truths about relationships, take a quick moment to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Dating Code. Not only does it support the channel, but it ensures you never miss the insights that could save you years of pain. All right, let's begin. The very first phrase you need to pay attention to is this: "So-and-so understands me so well." At first it sounds harmless, almost flattering. But trust me, when those words show up repeatedly, they carry a weight far heavier than you might think. Imagine this. You're sitting at dinner with your partner. You've asked her about her day, and she casually mentions a colleague or a friend. She laughs lightly and says, "Oh, you know, Mark just understands me so well." It slips out like it's nothing. But deep inside, you feel a small pinch in your stomach. Something doesn't sit right. Now here's the truth most men miss. That sentence, innocent as it sounds, could be the first crack in the wall of your relationship. Why? Because when a woman starts saying that another man understands her so well, she's revealing that she has found emotional resonance outside of you, and emotional resonance is the gateway drug to infidelity. Women rarely cheat out of nowhere. It usually starts with a connection, not physical first, but emotional. Someone listens to her, someone validates her feelings, someone makes her feel seen. And when she tells you about it, she's testing 2 things at once: how much attention you're really paying, how much she can normalize this outside connection without you reacting. Think about it carefully. Would you ever repeatedly tell your partner that another woman gets you better than she does? No, because you know that would cut deep. So why would she do it? Simple. It's either a subconscious slip or a deliberate breadcrumb hinting at where her emotions are moving. Here's what psychology says. When women form strong emotional bonds, the brain releases oxytocin, the same hormone that deepens trust and intimacy. If she's releasing that chemical with someone else, the bond she should be reinforcing with you is now being transferred outside. And once that bond solidifies, physical intimacy often follows. Now let me tell you a story. One man I coached told me about his girlfriend who constantly praised her coworker. She'd say things like, "He just gets me. He knows exactly how to cheer me up." At first, he brushed it off, thinking he was being paranoid. Months later, he discovered dozens of late-night chats between them. By then, it wasn't just emotional. It had crossed the line. And the saddest part, the warning signs were there from the very first time she said, "He understands me so well." He just ignored them. So how should you respond if you hear this? First, don't explode. If you accuse her instantly, she'll retreat and deny. Instead, pay attention. Notice how often she says it. Notice if she compares you to him. Notice if she lights up when his name comes up. Second, ask open but calm questions. Like, "That's interesting. What is it that he understands about you?" Her reaction will tell you more than the words. If she becomes defensive, vague, or tries to downplay it, you've hit a nerve. If she eagerly explains, it still shows she's leaning on him for validation. Third, reflect on your own role. Are you truly listening to her when she talks? Are you present or are you distracted? Because sometimes women drift emotionally, not because they plan to betray, but because they feel unmet at home. And another man fills the gap. But don't be naive. If she's repeatedly saying someone else understands her better, it's not just about communication style. It's about shifting loyalty. It's about building a bridge outside your relationship while tearing down the one inside. Here's where Stoic thinking comes in. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." You can't control what she does, but you can control how clearly you see reality. Don't blind yourself with wishful thinking. Face the truth calmly, with courage. And remember, awareness gives you options. You can address the gap directly. You can strengthen your bond if it's worth saving, or you can walk away before deception destroys your peace. So let me ask you, have you ever heard your partner say something like, "So-and-so understands me so well"? And did you ignore it? Or did you pay attention? By the way, if you've ever been in a situation like this, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might help another man wake up before it's too late. And if you're finding these insights valuable, remember to hit the subscribe button to Stoic Dating Code, because we've only just begun. Now, let's move on. The second phrase that should raise your alert is this: "Don't worry, I'm just going out with some friends." At first glance, this phrase feels almost innocent. After all, everyone needs friends. Everyone deserves a social life outside the relationship. But when these exact words start appearing too often, or with strange timing, they can become a mask. A convenient cover that hides what's really happening. Picture this. It's Friday evening. You ask your partner about her plans, and she replies with a smile, "Don't worry, I'm just going out with some friends." She doesn't mention who those friends are. She doesn't invite you along. She doesn't even give details about where they're going. And if you push further, she waves you off, as if you're being controlling for even asking. Now, here's where most men get trapped. Because they don't want to look insecure, they swallow their curiosity. They tell themselves it's normal, she's allowed to have her space. And yes, it's true, trust is essential. But blind trust without observation, that's not strength, that's denial. Psychologically, vague phrases like this are classic deflection tactics. Instead of naming specific people, "I'm going out with Sarah and Emily," she keeps it broad. Just some friends. This vagueness serves a purpose. It prevents you from asking more, and it leaves her room to shift the story later if needed. Let me share a story. One man told me his girlfriend always said, "Don't worry, I'm with friends." For months, he never questioned it. He wanted to be the easygoing boyfriend. Later, when he accidentally saw her phone, he realized half those nights weren't with friends at all. They were with one particular man. By then, the damage was done. The lies had piled up, and his trust was shattered. Now, I'm not telling you to become a paranoid detective. That's not the Stoic way. But I am telling you to listen carefully. If someone is honest, they won't mind being specific. They'll say, "I'm meeting Sarah at the coffee shop." But if the story is always vague, if it's always the same generic excuse, that's when you should pay attention. Here's what to watch for. Does she use this phrase more frequently than before? Does her mood shift right before or after these friend outings? Does she seem protective of her phone during these times? And most importantly, does she ever offer details, or does she always keep it cloudy? From a psychological point of view, people lying often rely on rehearsed, short statements. They keep it simple so they don't trip over their own words. So when she says, "Don't worry, just with friends," she's buying space. She's keeping the explanation thin so you don't have much to challenge. Now let's bring in a Stoic perspective. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." As a man, you must decide whether you want to be a partner who ignores reality for comfort or a partner who faces the truth calmly. Your role is not to accuse without evidence, but neither is it to close your eyes when the evidence is slowly appearing. So how should you respond? Calmly, never with panic. If she says, "I'm just going out with friends," ask with genuine curiosity, "That's nice. Who's going to be there?" If she gets defensive or annoyed by such a simple question, that's a red flag in itself. If she consistently avoids giving details, take mental notes. Don't argue every time, just observe. Patterns reveal the truth far better than any single night out. And here's something crucial. If she truly values the relationship, she'll naturally want to include you in her life. She'll mention names, invite you sometimes, and happily share stories afterward. But if she always shields those outings, if the stories are vague or inconsistent, you need to face the possibility that friends might not mean friends at all. Let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where your partner's girls' night out didn't quite add up? Where the details seemed thinner than they should be? If yes, you know how it feels, that knot in your gut, that uneasy silence when you choose not to press further. Here's where the Stoic mindset becomes your ally. Instead of being consumed by jealousy or blind trust, you stand in the middle, calm, observant, prepared. You don't accuse recklessly, but you don't ignore reality either. You use reason as your compass. And remember, your time, your loyalty, your energy, these are sacred. If someone plays with them, you have every right to step back, to demand honesty, or to walk away with dignity. So the next time you hear, "Don't worry, I'm just going out with some friends," don't panic, but don't dismiss it either. Take it as a clue that might reveal whether your relationship is built on truth or on shadows. By the way, if this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to Stoic Dating Code and share this video with a friend who might need a wake-up call. Sometimes awareness spreads best when it's passed along. Now, let's continue. The third phrase you need to watch out for is this: "I need more space for myself." At first, the phrase sounds reasonable. After all, every human being needs space, time to recharge, pursue personal interests, or simply breathe. But when your partner begins repeating this line, "I need more space for myself," especially out of nowhere, you need to pay close attention, because in many cases, this phrase is less about self-growth and more about creating room for someone else. Picture this. You and your partner used to spend weekends together, movie nights, long walks, cooking side by side. But suddenly she starts saying she needs more alone time. She insists on going out by herself, locking her phone more often, and sharing fewer details of her day. At first, you want to respect it. You don't want to be controlling. But then, a quiet question lingers in your mind. Why now? Why this sudden craving for space? Here's the psychology behind it. When someone asks for space in a relationship, it can mean one of two things. Option 1, they're genuinely overwhelmed and they need time to reset. Option 2, they're trying to create emotional distance so that they can slowly detach or redirect that energy toward another person. And most men, desperate not to seem insecure, accept the explanation without exploring which one it is. Now let me tell you a story. A man once told me about his girlfriend who started saying she needed more space after 3 years together. At first, he thought it was because of work stress. He gave her room. He stopped asking questions. But weeks turned into months, and the space grew larger. Later, he found out she had been using that distance to nurture a connection with someone else. By the time he realized, she was emotionally gone. This is why you can't ignore the phrase, "I need space," is not always a red flag by itself. But when paired with secrecy, defensiveness, or sudden changes in behavior, it becomes a warning siren. So how do you handle it like a stoic man? First, don't panic, don't beg, don't cling. As Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." If she truly needs space for her mental health, respect it. Show strength by standing calmly in your own frame, but at the same time, observe the patterns. Is she still sharing her life with you? Is she honest about what she does with her space? Or has she become secretive, distant, almost like a stranger? Second, communicate clearly. Ask her, "I understand you want space. Can you help me understand what that looks like for you?" If she's genuine, she'll explain openly. If she's hiding something, she'll likely become vague or defensive, and that reaction itself is a clue. Third, remember that space in a relationship should never feel like exile. Healthy space means she comes back refreshed, more engaged. Toxic space means she drifts further, colder each time. If her space keeps creating more distance rather than balance, it's a sign she's building her life away from you. Here's another key detail most men miss. When women say they need space, they're often testing your reaction. If you collapse, beg, or panic, it confirms their growing doubts. But if you stay calm, grounded, and clear about your own boundaries, you show strength. And strength either reattracts them or reveals the truth faster. Now, let me give you something practical. If your partner asks for space, respect it, but silently set your own limit. Decide how long you're willing to tolerate vague distance without clarity, because a man without boundaries will be dragged endlessly into uncertainty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." If her words about needing space don't align with her actions, if honesty doesn't back them up, then you already have your answer. You don't need to chase the truth. The truth will reveal itself. Let me ask you this. Has your partner ever told you she needed more space and you felt that gut twist inside? Did you ignore it, hoping things would fix themselves, only to realize later she was slipping away? If so, you know how painful self-deception can be. That's why you need clarity early. By the way, if you're finding this helpful, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Dating Code. The more men hear these truths, the less power deception has over them. All right, let's move forward. The fourth phrase is one of the most common and one of the most dangerous. It's the line that has destroyed countless relationships while sounding completely ordinary. "I'm working late. I have overtime." Few phrases sound as reasonable as this one. Work is demanding. Deadlines are real. Everyone understands the stress of long hours. So when your partner says, "I'm working late," or "I have overtime again," it doesn't immediately trigger suspicion. But that's exactly why it's one of the most dangerous covers for infidelity. Because it blends so easily into normal life. Imagine this. Your partner used to come home around 6 or 7. You'd eat together, watch a show, maybe go for a walk. But suddenly, she's working late several times a week. Sometimes she doesn't even text during those hours. When she finally gets home, she seems distant, exhausted, but oddly refreshed in ways that don't add up. Now, let's be clear, sometimes overtime is real, but psychology teaches us that people who lie often anchor their lies in half-truths. If she truly has 1 or 2 long nights because of a big project, that's normal. But if overtime becomes the default explanation for her absence, you must look deeper. Here's the hidden pattern. When someone uses work as an excuse, they count on 2 things: that you won't question it, because no one wants to appear unsupportive of their partner's career, that it sounds practical, unlike vaguer excuses like, "I just need space." Work has credibility built in. Let me tell you a story. A man once shared how his wife began working late several nights a week. She'd come home past 10 p.m., sometimes even after midnight. When he asked about her projects, she always stayed vague. "Oh, just the usual reports, nothing big." Months later, he discovered she had been meeting someone after hours. The truth. She hadn't been lying about going to the office. She often went. But she left early, using the work late excuse as a shield to cover her tracks. Here's the psychology. Cheaters often rely on excuses that are socially protected. Work, family obligations, even helping a friend. These are safe because most partners don't want to appear controlling by questioning them. That's why the Stoic man must stay calm, not paranoid, but sharp enough to see patterns others ignore. So what patterns should you watch for? A sudden increase in late work hours with no change in her workload. A defensive tone when you ask about what exactly kept her. A lack of details. She says she worked late but can't tell you what she was doing. Changes in appearance. She dresses better on overtime days than on regular ones. Emotional distance. Instead of being tired and stressed, she comes home oddly energized. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If someone can show me I am wrong, I will gladly change." This applies here. Don't jump to conclusions. If she truly is working late, support her. But if the story doesn't align with observable reality, don't dismiss your instincts. Truth and consistency always walk hand in hand. Lies stumble when you ask simple, honest questions. So how do you handle this calmly? First, avoid accusations. Instead of, "I know you're lying," try, "I'd love to hear more about what kept you so late today." If her story feels forced, or if she gets irritated by such a simple question, that's information. Second, observe long-term. 1 late night means nothing, but 3, 4, 5 nights a week. That's not just overtime, that's a pattern, and patterns reveal truth. Third, don't fall into the trap of self-deception. Many men silence their instincts because they fear rocking the boat. But as Seneca wrote, "He who is brave is free." Courage means being willing to face what you'd rather not see. If the work late story doesn't add up, it's better to confront it early than to live years in ignorance. Now, let me ask you, have you ever ignored the "I'm working late" excuse, only to later discover it was more than work? If so, you know how sharp the sting of betrayal feels. That's why clarity matters. And if this hits home for you, don't just keep it to yourself. Share this video with someone you know who might be struggling with doubt in their relationship. Sometimes, hearing these insights is the wake-up call they need. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Stoic Dating Code, because knowledge is only power if you keep sharpening it. All right, it's time to move to the 5th phrase. This one cuts deeper than the others because it often signals a planned transition, a deliberate shift towards separation. The phrase is, "I think we need some time apart." Few phrases hit harder than this one. When you hear, "I think we need some time apart," it feels like the ground beneath your feet suddenly splits open. It sounds like a request for balance, for healing, for space. But often, it's not about fixing the relationship. It's about creating a doorway for infidelity or preparing to exit quietly. Imagine this scenario. You and your partner have had a few arguments, nothing unusual, the kind every couple goes through. Then one night, out of nowhere. She looks at you and says, "I think we need some time apart." She frames it gently, maybe even with a soft smile. She says it's to work on herself or to clear her head. But the real question is, why does she need distance now, and what will she do with it? Here's the psychology. When people want to explore other connections, they often seek permission through distance. By asking for time apart, she creates a gray area where she can pursue someone else without feeling like she's technically cheating. It's a psychological loophole, a way to silence her guilt while still stepping outside the relationship. This tactic also tests you. If you panic, beg, or collapse, it confirms her suspicion that you lack stability. If you agree too easily, she feels validated in drifting away. Either way, the balance of power shifts in her favor, unless you respond with calm clarity. Let me share a story. A man once told me his girlfriend asked for time apart after 4 years together. She insisted it was just a break, nothing final. He waited patiently, believing she'd come back stronger. But during that so-called break, she started dating someone else. When he confronted her, she said, "Well, we weren't really together." The truth. She had used that phrase as a hall pass, an excuse to betray without technically admitting it. Now, does this mean every request for space is a cover for cheating? No. Sometimes people genuinely feel overwhelmed, lost, or burnt out. But you can tell the difference by watching what happens during the break. If the time apart leads to honesty, therapy, or reconciliation, it's real. If it leads to secrecy, avoidance, and excuses, it's a cover. So what should you do if you hear these words? First, pause. Don't react emotionally. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Her request is outside your control, but your response isn't. Second, ask for clarity. Say something like, "I hear you. Can you help me understand what you want to achieve with this time apart?" If she struggles to explain, or if her answer sounds rehearsed, that's a clue. Third, set boundaries. Don't allow time apart to become an endless limbo where you're waiting while she explores other options. Decide what's acceptable for you and communicate it clearly. If she wants space, she can have it, but you don't have to put your life on hold while she makes up her mind. From a Stoic perspective, this phrase is a test of your strength. It's easy to cling when you feel rejected. It's harder to stand tall, accept reality, and refuse to be strung along. But strength is exactly what's required here, because often, time apart is less about reflection and more about transitioning into someone else's arms. Let me ask you this. Has your partner ever asked for time apart, and deep down you knew it wasn't really about space? It was about escape. Many men look back and realize the truth too late. Don't let that be you. And here's something practical. If she truly values the relationship, time apart will come with clear communication and a shared plan for reconnection. If she avoids details, if she resists accountability, then you already have your answer. She doesn't want space. She wants freedom without responsibility. Before we move on, let me remind you, if these insights are opening your eyes, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Dating Code. It's a small action, but it keeps powerful truths flowing your way. And trust me, in matters of the heart, clarity is worth more than gold. Now, we arrive at the sixth and final phrase. This one sounds selfless, even noble. But beneath the surface, it often hides the heaviest secret of all. The phrase is, "You deserve someone better than me." At first, this phrase sounds almost touching. It feels like humility, like self-awareness. When your partner looks at you and says, "You deserve someone better than me," it seems as if she's acknowledging her flaws, even protecting you from disappointment. But beneath that softness often lies a painful truth. This phrase can be a confession in disguise. Let's break it down. Why would someone suddenly tell you that you deserve better? If they truly love you, wouldn't they want to rise to the challenge of being better for you? Wouldn't they fight to improve the relationship instead of preemptively excusing themselves. That's the paradox. This phrase often isn't about lifting you up. It's about lowering expectations and quietly preparing you for loss. Here's the psychology. When people cheat, they feel guilt, and guilt needs an outlet. For women, one of the most common outlets is to frame themselves as unworthy. By saying, "You deserve better," she shifts the focus from her actions to her supposed inadequacy. It's a way to soften the blow, to make it seem like she's doing you a favor, but in reality, it's often her conscience speaking louder than she intended. Let me share a story. A man once told me his partner of 5 years started saying this line out of nowhere. At first, he thought she was just insecure. He reassured her, told her she was everything he wanted. But weeks later, he discovered she had been seeing someone else. Looking back, he realized those words weren't insecurity. They were leaks of guilt, her way of easing her own conscience while secretly betraying his trust. Think about it. If she's truly insecure, she'll seek your comfort. But if she repeats this phrase in a distant, resigned way, it often means she knows she's hiding something. It's not humility, it's a smokescreen. So, how do you respond? First, listen carefully. Don't just rush to reassure. Instead of saying, "No, you're perfect for me," pause and ask, "Why do you feel that way? What makes you think I deserve better?" Her answer will reveal everything. If she talks vaguely about being a bad partner, but can't point to specifics, that's suspicious. If she brings up issues she's never mentioned before, it may be projection, transferring her guilt onto you. Second, watch for timing. This phrase often comes before or after major changes in behavior. More secrecy with her phone, less intimacy at home. Sudden mood swings between guilt and coldness. That's not coincidence. That's her conscience trying to speak through indirect words. From a Stoic perspective, you must stay steady here. Seneca once said, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." When you hear this phrase, don't let fear take over. Don't imagine the worst immediately, but also don't ignore the weight behind the words. Treat them as information. Signals that require calm observation, not blind comfort. And here's the crucial truth. If she truly believes you deserve better, then she should act better. Love is shown in behavior, not in poetic lines of self-doubt. So, pay less attention to her words and more to her actions. Are her actions aligning with commitment, or do they betray distance? Let me ask you, have you ever heard this phrase and felt your stomach sink even though you wanted to believe it was just insecurity? Many men have ignored it, only to later realize it was the beginning of the end. Don't ignore your instincts. Here's something practical. If you hear this phrase, don't just reassure her. Hold her accountable. Say, "If I deserve better, then why don't we both work on making this relationship stronger?" Her reaction will tell you everything. If she resists, avoids, or dismisses the idea, it means she's not looking to rebuild. She's looking to justify her exit. Now, if this resonates with you, make sure you subscribe to Stoic Dating Code and hit the like button. Because the more men hear these truths, the fewer will be blindsided by words that sound gentle but carry hidden daggers. And with that, we've reached the end of the 6 phrases. But we're not done yet. Because understanding these words is one thing, knowing how to act on them is another. So let's close with a final message that ties it all together. So there you have it. 6 phrases that may sound simple, even harmless, but when repeated, can signal something far deeper beneath the surface. Let's quickly review them. So-and-so understands me so well. Don't worry, I'm just going out with some friends. I need more space for myself. I'm working late. I have overtime. I think we need some time apart. You deserve someone better than me. Each one carries its own hidden meaning. Each one is a doorway into what might be happening behind closed doors of the heart. And while not every phrase guarantees infidelity, ignoring them altogether is like closing your eyes while smoke fills the room. You might tell yourself it's nothing, but deep down, you know flames often follow. Now, what separates a strong man from a blind one isn't paranoia. It isn't control. It's awareness. It's the ability to hear words, to notice patterns, and to calmly ask, what do these words really mean? The Stoics taught us that reality is our greatest ally. Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." If your partner is faithful, these phrases will pass the test of truth. Her actions will align with her words. But if not, your calm observation will reveal the cracks long before they shatter your world. And here's the deeper lesson. Every relationship carries risk. Every love story requires trust. But trust is not blind. Trust is clarity plus courage. It's saying, I choose to believe you, but I will not abandon my own perception of reality. Too many men ignore their instincts because they fear confrontation. They choose comfort over truth, but comfort can be deadly. Comfort is how men waste years in relationships already poisoned by lies. And when the truth finally comes out, they look back and realize the signs were always there. They just didn't want to see them. You must be different. You must be the man who sees, who listens, who acts with calm strength. Because even if betrayal does come, you will meet it with open eyes, not as a victim, but as a man who values himself enough to walk away with dignity. So let me ask you, have you ever ignored a phrase that looking back was the warning you needed? If so, remember this. Pain is not wasted if it makes you wiser. Every scar can become your armor. Every lesson can sharpen your perception. And that's what we do here at Stoic Dating Code. We take pain, betrayal, confusion, and we turn them into strength, into clarity, into a philosophy that makes you harder to fool, harder to break, and harder to manipulate. Before we close, here's my challenge for you. The next time you hear one of these phrases, don't rush to anger. Don't collapse into denial. Simply pause, observe, ask questions calmly, and most importantly, pay attention not just to the words, but to the actions that follow, because actions never lie. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If someone is able to show me that what I think or do is not right, I will happily change, for I seek the truth, by which no one was ever truly harmed." Remember that. The truth, no matter how painful, will never destroy you. It will only set you free. So men, walk forward with eyes wide open. Listen not just with your ears, but with your reason. And never forget, your strength lies not in controlling her words, but in mastering your response to them. If you found value in this video, do me a favor, hit the like button. Subscribe to Stoic Dating Code for more insights that sharpen your mind and protect your heart. And share this with a brother, a friend, a son, someone who might need these truths today more than ever, because awareness spreads. And together, the more we share, the fewer men will live blind in the shadows of lies. Stay strong, stay calm, and remember, the Stoic path isn't about avoiding pain, it's about transforming it into power.